Recording in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
That's right. That was fun.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg. We're glad you are here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Steph Nikovich, and I am President Emeritus. Is that the right term?
Immediate past president.
Immediate
But
past president?
I like President Emeritus.
Emeritus
That's
is just
good.
Latin for put out to pasture, so kind of like in the pasture these days. If you are with us for the first time, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for this community we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the virtual visitor card found on our website under Sunday services, or fill out the yellow card in the basket in front of you, on the chair in front of you. We offer a special welcome to Jeffrey Snow, Outreach Coordinator at Interfaith Outreach, which is our Generosity Sunday for July. Please take a note of the announcements in the bulletin, and if you are on Zoom, you can find them in the Friday e-news, and I have one extra announcement as well. If you are a city resident and would like to sign a petition to recall City Councilman Martin Missions, please see Pat Bauer during coffee hour. So that's if you want to get into some community service there. Rev Terre will spend leave this Thursday for 2 weeks in South Carolina. She will be attending various meetings and of course will be available by email.
I invite us now to release our worries about what's happening in our lives and the world as we enter into this service with some slow, calming breaths. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. I invite us to rise in body or spirit to share hymn number 300 with heart and mind. to invite our young at heart to join me up here. No cookies right now. I think maybe you've had y'all come sit up here so I can see your eyes. You want to sit down? Anybody else want to join us?
Robin want to join us. Robin
Okay, I'm glad that baby Strawberry came too. Oh, good, and we've got a bear. So, I wanted, what's his name? Women? Norman, okay. Well, I want to tell you a story today about a little girl named Amanda. And Amanda was a child who loved to be helpful. Yeah, I don't think I'll feel your bug bite this morning.
But I got a lot of bugs going on.
Yeah, but right now we're talking about this little girl named Amanda who loved to help. So what are some ways that y'all are helpful at home? Because she liked to help her parents and her neighbor. What?
We can do the dishes.
You can do the dishes. What else can you do to help at home?
You can do the dishes.
And sometimes you can help pick up things at home. And one thing that I want to thank you boys for helping with, and the adults do it a lot of times, but today you got to help by helping Michaela feel welcome here because she's never been here before. So thank y'all for doing that.
And helping and setting up.
Yeah. So let me tell you some more about Amanda. She liked to help and do lots of things. And at school they had a project where every single person in her class was going to do something to help somebody else. And her teacher gave her the assignment to go to a neighborhood in her town where there were a lot of people who didn't have enough food to eat. So the teacher said she could do anything she wanted to. So she thought, and what could she do to help people who were hungry? So she decided she was going to make sandwiches, because everybody likes sandwiches, right?
I don't know.
So she and her parents and her neighbors all made sandwiches. They made 100 sandwiches. That's a lot of sandwiches. You're right. You probably could, but that would take more time than Amanda had. So what Amanda and her parents did the next day was to go to the neighborhood and ask people, whether they were old or young or no matter what the color of their skin was, here, would you like a sandwich and a piece of fruit? Yes, but you know what? Everybody said, thank you, but I've had something to eat already. And finally, after doing this for a long time, Amanda was very frustrated and confused. But she saw a little girl she'd never met before.
Me.
Yes, maybe her name was Michaela. And that Michaela in the story was sort of chuckling or laughing at what Amanda was doing, and it made Amanda really upset, really angry. And she said, what are you laughing at? And the Michaela in the story said, we don't take food from strangers. And Amanda was really confused. And she was very upset that this little girl wouldn't take her sandwich. And the little girl said, you didn't even ask me what my name was. And Amanda said, I'm so sorry, my name is Amanda, what's your name? And she said, my name is Michaela. So they talking, and Michaela said that the city had given them land to have a garden for their neighborhood so they'd have more food to eat, and gave them some seeds, but the seeds were moldy and they wouldn't grow. Yes.
Like all the land we have all in our backyard, and
Yeah, like the land in your backyard.
and flowers.
There were flower seeds. There were 1,000 turnip seeds. And Michaela said, we can't eat that many turnips. We need good seeds of things that people in our community like to eat. And why are you making sandwiches? What we really need is to be able to grow our own food. And that made, you grow cauliflower, that's wonderful. That's great. This Michaela loves broccoli. So Michaela in the story and her family and friends started talking to the Michaelas in the story to her mom. And they started learning what the neighborhood really wanted and needed. What they needed more than a grocery store. It took us 45 minutes to get to the grocery store, and that was hard. So as they talked, they became friends with each other. And what Michaela and children in her is, none of us can decide for other people what they need and what's right for them. So what's very important is to build friendships. And eventually, Michaela went back to her school, and they got good seeds for the family. They got tools, and the community was able to build a garden. And in the fall, everyone came together, Michaela and her friends and the community, and they all had a big harvest meal. And they all worked together to work with their city to make sure that a grocery store moved into their neighborhood. It took a long time and a lot of work, but there was a big celebration when that happened. And Michaela and all of her friends and family learned that if we really respect people, then we're going to ask what they want and need, and work, and everybody work together to make a difference in the world.
Oh, is that real fire?
It is real fire. We lit the candles.
Yeah, and why is it moving? Don't touch it.
It's sort of flickering because the air is on a little bit. And I want to tell you, that's right, don't touch it. So I want to say something else. Today, after you go to your class,
Oh, there's grass on top of it, and you just...
Jeffrey is going to outreach. And that developed to help a lot of people in our community. And the program started as people who were trying to make our community. We tried to figure out what programs do people really want and need, rather than what we think they should want and need. And that's called a respectful relationship with each other. Thank y'all for listening to my story. Yes. And now I'd like to would like to sing you to your class. And do y'all mind helping Michaela find her way to her class? Yay! Hey, Cece. You were too tired. It's a weekend, isn't it? So let us, who are the teachers for this morning? Well, guess what, guys? We're not going to see you on your way. How about if, let's take the packets, let's take these packets, and there's a lot of space back there where you can have fun. Hi. Okay, Barb, thank you. That's very kind. Look, Barb is being a helper today. She's going to go play with y'all. Yay! Thank you, Barb. Community supports each other. Thank goodness. The Reverend Hope Johnson wrote a poem called One Love, and this is an excerpt. We are a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. This morning, our topic is living in community, and this topic certainly relates to how we want to be together within our congregation. Certainly, our children are learning that by taking care of and supporting each other, and our adults help one another. Yet our beliefs affirm that an essential aspect of living our faith is caring for people in our larger community. To live our beliefs in an authentic way means we find ways to live love in the world. And I want to thank Jeffrey Snow for being with us to talk about the essential ministry of interfaith outreach. And it's the focus of our June Generosity Sunday gifts. So Jeffrey, thanks for being here on short notice for our service. Sean Farmer has family responsibilities. She needed to take care of her mother out of town. And thank you so much for stepping in.
Thank you all so much for having me. So good morning. It really is an honor to be here with our friends at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg this morning. So we're always excited to be with one of our founding member congregations who had the vision of interfaith collaboration so as to take care of the most vulnerable in our community. So my name is Jeffrey Snow, and I'm the outreach coordinator for Interfaith Outreach. I coordinate both the emergency assistance and homeless prevention programs for Interfaith Outreach, as well as working with our furniture and rebuilds programs. And so today I'm here to update you on what our programs are looking like today. And although the worst of the pandemic has definitely passed, we can honestly say that things are not back to the way they were before the pandemic in 2019. In fact, we would say they are more like things were during the Great Recession, with demand continuing to be at its pre-pandemic highest. As all the pandemic assistance has expired, the one thing that remains is the tremendous inflation we have throughout our community and the country, with zero modifications made to remaining benefits or the income scale to accurately adjust for the historic inflation, which affects so many of our neighbors in need. With prices continuing to be so high for necessities such as rent, electricity, groceries, and gasoline, the impact on people with fixed incomes is horrific as they try to make ends meet. The overwhelming majority of our households we serve make less than $1,000 per month. We almost never see a household we serve with an income higher than $1,000. But what if your income each month was only $1,000? Imagine trying to pay both your increased rent and power bill during the winter and the summer. Imagine your pipes bursting in the middle of winter or your heat breaking. Imagine that you now need a ramp because you cannot do stairs due to a new health condition. Imagine moving into a new place and having zero furniture after barely pulling together the funds to pay your deposit and first month's rent. Imagine starting over after being incarcerated and trying to find a job along with the clothes and tools while also needing a new place to live. Imagine being blind with nobody to take you to a medical appointment. What would you do? The good news is that because of your vision decades ago, Interfaith Outreach Association is here to be able to help people in all of these situations. Your continued support of Interfaith Outreach allows us to prevent homelessness by paying people's rent and keeping their utilities on. It allows us to fix pipes, heat, and entrances in the homes of our elderly neighbors. Your gifts allow us to help our neighbors who have been incarcerated with fresh, successful starts. Your help allows us to turn a house into a home with furniture. You make such a difference, and the need is so great whether you're donating your time, talent, or financial resources. Thank you for working together with us to love all of our neighbors in need. You make a difference.
I think let's see, Kat and I were in person at the IOA annual meeting this past week, and Morris was online, and I think what you mentioned, which really struck me, is so many people are struggling more now because the poverty rates haven't been adjusted for inflation. So when we are having trouble paying higher bills and higher food, imagine somebody living on that $1,000 a month. So thank you, and thank you for your ministry and your work to support our entire community. Today, we take an offering of our gifts for the work of this community and also for Interfaith Outreach. If you would like to write a check for Interfaith Outreach, please put IOA in the memo. If you're paying online, please do the same. The need is expanding for our IOA, and our community is here because of the generosity of all our members and friends. It is the tradition of our community that we share in our midst the joys and the concerns that well up in our lives.
Recording in progress.
Spirit of love and life. We hold up today all that has been shared here. We give thanks for new life that enters the world with all the possibilities and potential that's possible in this wonderful new life among us. We hold up life transitions that help us move forward. And we hold up our concern for those we love who are ill in mind, body, or spirit, those who find challenges in their lives. We hold up our concerns for the state of our nation, including housing and especially medical care. May we find ways to nurture those who provide care so that all people may feel respected. We hold up today those who work for the good of all people in our community, for interfaith outreach and all those organizations that make a difference, that help people survive. We know that we have our work to do to transform the world, even though it seems small or insignificant. Let us take on our work so that, joined with people in our congregation and so many other congregations, we can together build the beloved community. Amen. Blessed be. A lot of us have been thinking a lot recently, in recent months, about what it means to live as part of a community. And I think one of the aspects of life that shifted for many of us since COVID has been the ways in which we have chosen to re-engage with our communities of choice. We're relearning what it means to live in community. So much has been written about organizations fading away and needing to reorganize since COVID. I'm really excited to hear about this, this queer space. That's easier than saying all the initials. Lots of us felt rusty coming out of our COVID caves and re-entering society. I know it's been a year or so, but still, I feel like a lot of us are feeling our way through. We all missed during COVID the wonderful gift of being physically present with folks and enjoying their company. Although we honor and hold on to Zoom because that's the way some of us can continue to be engaged with friends and colleagues in our community. Most of our communities are now called to re-examine what it means to live as part of a community that welcomes people of varied beliefs and perspectives, which, as we know, can be both a gift and a challenge. When we come together as independent thinkers, any of those here? I think all of us would raise our hands. We often find that we disagree, offering different perspectives to issues, and this is delightfully normal and mind expanding, hopefully, because we are thoughtful, opinionated, curious human beings. I appreciate the respect with which we show one another as we engage in shared opinions. It's part of what makes our congregation interesting. These conversations also enhance our social time. Yet even as we nurture respectful differences of opinion, too often we see our society filled with differences of opinion, many of which are divisive and passionately held. Sadly, people often show little respect for those whose beliefs are different from their views. Hence, we end up with banned books, prejudice, and laws passed to harm the innocent. It's a sad commentary on our society that some of us have become estranged from family or friends who now hold beliefs that are not in harmony with our ethics and core beliefs about inclusion, justice, equity, and compassion. Too often, the differences are hateful, couched in religious dogma. As Unitarian Universalists, we've chosen to take a different path. Too many relationships and hearts have been broken as people have forgotten what it means to live in a healthy society. And healthy religion functions best as we work together for the common good and uphold the democratic process. Lots of that is going on in Pittsburgh in General Assembly this week. I hear from people again and again that individualism is out of control. I heard this when I was in my seminars, both in France and Spain. Individualism is hurting the welfare of many people in our nation and in other nations. It's difficult to remain unaffected by the egotism of those who believe their opinion should take precedence over the welfare of the entire community. They've forgotten the basic tenets of the democratic process and dismissed the dignity and worth of many of our nation's people. Certainly, each of us Unitarian Universalists has strong opinions about many things, political, personal, spiritual. Sometimes our concern over what is happening in our nation can lead us to obsess about the negative things we see and hear. Some of us have been deeply wounded by religion or political beliefs, and we can be intolerant of folks whose religious beliefs, even within our congregation, when they come from a different source of faith than our own. We're still learning to be as open as our faith professes. That's one reason, Makana knows, and Bob know this, why I feel like we need to keep our sources in our Second Amendment, because we forget that we need to respect people whose theological persuasions are in all 6 of those sources. But the reality is we're human, and we're living with our own concerns about our lives in the world. But despite our shortcomings, Unitarian Universalism professes a belief in the democratic process, as messy as the democratic process can be. We ground our religion in our personal lives in a different way of living. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people and in the individual search for religious truth. Our 5th principle clearly states that we affirm the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. This deep commitment to the importance of the democratic process and the importance of using our conscience in exercising democracy as an important mediating force to prevent bullying and the manipulation of community decision-making. When we participate in the democratic process within our UU congregations, we are practicing healthy democracy, a foundation of our nation. When this happens, small communities like ours become building blocks to create a more inclusive nation. What we do together and how we do it is a commitment to hope and a future that listens to the voices of all people. Now that sounds a little grandiose, but any movement starts on the foundation level. And it's these decisions that each of our congregations make and other congregations that can help transform our society. When we commit ourselves to a democratic process, it includes the responsibility to balance our individual ideas with the will of the community when there are disagreements. If we are to grow emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, we need people whose opinions differ from ours, because they're the ones who teach us new ways of thinking. Often in communities, there are times when members need to do some self-examination or to make sure that our idea of what's right for the community is not dogmatic and that we honor each person's voice. Excuse me. We need to make sure that we don't inadvertently bully others whose opinions are different from ours and who need to feel free to express their beliefs without hostility. It's important that members aren't manipulated by either the powerful, nor does the congregation fail to move forward without everybody agreeing. in a respectful manner, we have recently engaged in a long and thoughtful process about changing our name. That decision has been brewing for years, under the surface, percolating. There were many beliefs shared about whether to keep or change our name. I respect the way the process proceeded with integrity. The task force engaged in a process to gain insight and feelings from all our members and friends. As a community, we had lots of ideas and feelings. It was truly our democratic process in action. As the process honed in on the most popular name, some of us realized that our name wasn't the most popular, and we had to decide on our path forward in terms of our vote. Others of us disagreed completely, and yet we have, with respect for diverse opinions, honored the heart of our community. That is the way healthy Unitarian Universalism functions. The community chose our path forward. And we are still a community that enjoys being together. 2 years ago, we engaged in another thoughtful process to articulate a covenant for how we wish to be in relationship with one another. Now, this is a good example of what an old friend from another congregation said. Don't work on these projects if you're going to put them on a flip chart and then stick them behind the door after you finish. So we need to bring out the work that we've done, to re-examine it and figure out, is this really where we are? And while Unitarian Universalists don't affirm a creed, we are covenantal people. The vote on the name we chose was a test for how we relate within this congregation. Frankly, I'm touched by the continuing kindness we show one another and the enjoyment we have in being together. This affirms our shared beliefs and the integrity of our relationships among one another. And it's good to revisit our covenant periodically, so it's not behind the door. So I invite us to share our covenant, and you will read the italicized parts. It begins, we live love in the world. As members of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg, we share a desire to nurture the individual and the congregation and to encourage one another to live in accordance with our mission and our Unitarian Universalist principles. We covenant to prepare a safe and welcoming space where everyone is free to explore their spiritual growth within an accepting and supportive community. Recognize the individual's desire to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and loved. Support an individual's responsible search for truth and meaning in life. Acknowledge our young people as an integral part of all facets of our congregational life. Share our values, ethics, and morals with our children so they and we may go out and live love in the world. Accept and respect that there are differences among us, and we remain open to the richness and discomforts of diversity. Deal with our differences constructively and respectfully, communicating with one another in an open, direct, caring, and confidential manner. Accept accountability for our words, actions, seek assistance to resolve disagreements when a mutually satisfying outcome seems beyond our reach. Be mindful of others' time and commitments, including those of the minister, staff, and volunteers. Be supportive of our members during their times of sorrow and struggle, reminding all of their worthiness to live a life of peace, purpose, and well-being. Therefore, as members of the, and I didn't change this, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg, we pledge to be in community together in the spirit of this covenant, understanding that it is a living document that will evolve as our congregation evolves. That's a beautiful covenant. And the main words came from all of us. And then there was just some tweaking and wordsmithing. This covenant affirms the respect for and commitment we have for one another in our community. We are the caretakers of our congregation. Our covenant, as we pledged, is a living document which we need to adapt as we continue to listen both to one another and to our own hearts and minds. We are called to take responsibility for our relationships and feel free to speak when we believe our covenant is broken. In this day when nurturing inclusive communities is so essential, we have set before us a promise that we will maintain the sacred circle of our congregation. I invite us to rise in body or spirit to share hymn 323, Break Not the Circle. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our final words of blessing are from the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection. Our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Blessed be. Go in peace.
Morning. Hello, everybody. Nobody wants to hang around the chat, I guess. I was hoping to ask Michael how he was doing. He took off.
Yeah. He said he's walking without, only the pain he has is from the incision. That's what he had in his email.
He can hear you.
Well,
Couldn't quite hear you, Dick.
well, he said he was doing fine. He was walking, but he just had some, the only